Well, what's up everyone? Now today we're going to be discussing my video titled The Most Epic Revival Ever that surpassed 1 million views. That would be the beginning to end revival video I did on this 1948 Ford F5 church bus I found abandoned in the forest, and then the amazing journey that followed. So we're going to be discussing what it's like to get 1 million views on a single video, like how many subscribers I gained from it, as well as some new information and history that I've recently discovered on the bus, like previous owners and even some old photos. And then towards the end of the video, we're going to discuss how much money 1 million views will bring you on YouTube. So let's go. Well, welcome aboard this old vintage school bus. Sure, a lot of history in here. And it seems like a lot of you really enjoyed watching the amazing journey it took me on. Now in this video, I'd like to discuss what it's like to get 1 million views in a video. Some of the behind the scenes stuff and the analytics and all the things that come along with it. As well as all of that, I'd also like to share with you some more recent history I've learned on the bus. Newspaper article clippings and some previous owners that have reached out and contacted me and shared with me some old photos of the bus. But first, let's take a moment to give you some history on this bus. You know, like I said, it was a 1948 Ford F5 bus. And it must have started its life out as a school bus in the Portland area, is what I'm assuming, being that that's near where the church is located and also where it was found for sale at one point, and we'll talk about that later in the video. And so 1948 must have been a school bus in Portland area. And I'm sure it lived out its life doing that until at some point, I'm assuming, that it got decommissioned from the school district, maybe in the late 50s. I don't know how long they would have kept it in service. At some point, the church acquired it in the late 50s or very early 60s. And we did find one newspaper clipping that the church has shared with me, briefly talking about it, the church acquiring it and retrofitting it for the church. And I'll try to put that image up as well.
Well, here's an old newspaper article clipping of the original Stafford church bus. It reads, during 1956 through 58, neighbor Dan Keller made available the use of a Stafford school bus which he owned. Dan drove for DVBS and Herb Crawford was the primary driver for the Sunday school, with backup by Bert Neely, Ben Moiser, Paul Miller, Ed Angel, and John Southern. And then later the church bought her own Shorty bus, a 48 Ford with a superior body. John Duncan donated the use of his barn and shop facilities, and we refurbished the old bus, complete with a new coat of yellow paint and signage by Barbara Angel Schultz. And then it follows with a funny story saying Saturday while the adults worked on refurbishing the bus, the kids amused themselves in the barnyard. This proved to be an embarrassing time for one little girl who managed to get herself mirrored in the fresh manure and mud beside the barn. When she tried to take another step, the suction was so great that her foot came out of her boot. Her father had to pull her out, hose her off, and send her home.
So it was really neat to learn that history, and still learning more as we go. And someone else that gave us some great history on this bus was Mary. Now, we met her at the church reunion, and she told us her story. And her dad was a school bus driver for Stafford School District. And on the weekends, he volunteered to drive this bus and take all the kids to Sunday school. And she told us the story of her dad driving this bus and her sitting right here behind him. And so that was wonderful to meet her and learn that history. And it's helping us piece this whole story together. But eventually, the kids that rode this bus had all grown up, and apparently the church didn't need their buses for service anymore, and I believe it was the very early 80s they'd sold these buses, which will lead me to some new information I found about this bus that I'm going to save towards the end of the video. And at some point, it became abandoned in the forest for many decades. And that's the point of the story where I came into play, because that's when I found it, after sitting in the forest for over 25 years. So now finding the bus abandoned in the forest is where the fun really starts for me. That's when I start my YouTube channel and I start doing all the video documentation of the bus. Start doing the revival. Well, I don't want to give away too much because I really want you to go watch the video so you can get the true feeling of the full story. To give you the short version of it, we find this bus, get out the rats that are living in it, clean out the motor bay, which is a giant rat nest, get the rusted up motor running out there in the forest. I go and get the clutch freed up from underneath, go get the brake drums freed up, get it to where this thing can actually drive. And then ultimately, I drive it out of the forest. You know, we had to cut down a few trees, make a path, But we drive it out there, and I drive this thing all the way home. After we washed it, we realized how good a shape this thing still is. It's amazing. You know, we learned that most of it was aluminum, so it didn't really have a whole lot of rust, but still, the paint and everything looked pretty good. Most of the damage was done from those rats. And about this time is also when I get in contact with the church and I start learning about Mary and some more of the history of the bus. I decided to make a reunion trip with this bus all the way back to the old church it used to reside. A 125-year-old Christian church still in operation, and learn some more of their history and meet Mary. I couldn't ask for a better ending to the whole video and story. And I knew after I completed that whole series that I had to put all the videos together in an edited beginning to end video. Of course, we had to cut out a lot of stuff to put it all into one video, but I managed to do that and re-release that. And of course, that's when things really got interesting. All right, well, now that you're caught up with the story and the video, what's it like to get 1 million views on YouTube? The first thing I noticed once releasing that video was it didn't really take off right at first. That first week or so, it was probably normal amount of views, maybe even a little less. Maybe 10 or 12 days into it, though, it all changed, and that's when the views really started to soar. You know, the views started escalating and escalating. At first, there were hundreds of views an hour, which is pretty amazing, but at the height of its views, it was getting 2,000 views an hour for days. I couldn't even keep up with the comments. It was insane in a good way. So appreciative. And I took every opportunity I could with this, and I tried to answer every single comment. Thousands of them. And they just kept pouring in. And this was worldwide, nearly every continent in the world. Also, at this point is where I started noticing some of those subsequential reactions from having a viral video. Activity that's happening outside of YouTube as a result of the video. Other social media sites starting to pop off. TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and having a lot of interaction with my local community. Things like when our local newspaper reached out to me and came out here and did a exclusive story of me and the bus. And also 11:20 a.m. Wake Up Show, the radio station, had me on as a guest. So I took every opportunity I could with those to share the story. It was super exciting. You know, being on the radio station, that was the first time that happened for me. And, well, I could play a little bit of that for you.
829, live and local, the wake-up call. So
That's us.
It was a school bus left in the forest here locally for over 20 years. Our next guest found it, and this is a story of his and the 1948 Ford F5 bus, which, by the way, you can see photos on our Facebook page. If you check it out, you can see what he found and the current state of what it looks like after he did his number on it. Jason Kellogg with 2 G's joining us on the wake-up call. Jason, welcome in.
Good morning. You know, my hobby is working on classic cars, and that's how this whole story has come about. Me and my wife went for a walk out there and found it, and as soon as I saw it, fell in love with it. Documented the whole thing on my YouTube channel, Country Boy Gas Garage. Sitting there for that long, the forest grew up around it. A bunch of rats moved into it, and it was in pretty rough shape when I found it. I was able to get it running in the spot that it sat.
Wow.
And was able to drive it out of the forest under its own power. There is an 87-year-old woman named Mary that's a member of the church that says she remembers riding that bus to church, to Bible school as a child. So
that is so cool. I'm still kind of stuck on the whole idea that you were able to drive it out after 20 plus years.
So I had to clean all that rat dust out of there, and then the motor was frozen solid, and it took me a little bit to get it to rotate again, and then I was able to get it started. That was pretty amazing. I wasn't sure if that was going to happen, but it did start, and then from there I had to get the clutch unstuck and the brake drums unfrozen and get it to where it would drive. And I had to do this all on the forest floor out there in the forest, so it wasn't that easy. But eventually it was able to run and drive. I had to cut down a few trees and make a path because, of course, the forest has grown up around it over the last 25 years, and was able to drive it out of there.
Jason Kellogg, I don't know about you, but I'm sensing a reality TV show in the future for you. It starts with a YouTube channel, and then all of a sudden you're on Discovery or one of those Lifetime networks And
hey, let's do it.
The Register Guard newspaper came out and did a really cool spread of me and the bus, so I wanted to share some of that as well.
So, having the Register Guard of Lane County come out and do a story on me and the bus was super cool. That's something I didn't expect, and was super thankful to be able to share this whole story with my community. So thanks, Chris. So if an old yellow school bus sits quietly in the forest for nearly a quarter century with no one around to see it, does anyone really care? Well, it turns out Jason Kellogg cared a lot. And if you happen to be in the woods above Fall Creek last year, the sound you may have heard echoing off the nearby forest was a throaty roar of a 1957 Y block. The old school bus has been awakened from its long slumber and has a story to tell. So I'm not going to be able to read you the whole story word for word, but if you wanted to, you can slow it down or pause it to read. I also put a link to the Register Guard newspaper in the description of the video, so if you wanted to go check it out from there. But just to let you know, this was something I'm super proud of, and the best part of this was sharing it with my mom before she passed away and seeing how proud she was. She requested a copy of this for her own collection, so that was something that was super neat to happen. But yeah, thanks everybody, and like I was saying, if you wanted to read this, you can go ahead and slow down or pause to read. But Chris pretty much explains the story from beginning to end, from me finding the bus there out in the forest, getting it running, driving it home, and then, obviously going through and fixing everything, and then getting in contact with the church and learning more of the history and coming up with the plan to drive it back to the church at the end of this whole series on YouTube, which ultimately I did, and I met with Mary and learned a lot more history than I ever thought I would. So this whole story has been wonderful on so many levels. And I know I keep going on and on about this, but I really feel blessed that I was the one that was able to get this bus revived and back on the road and was able to tell its story. And honestly, I'll probably continue to tell the story for the rest of my life. And I'm going to keep learning more history as we go. So as a matter of fact, if anybody out there watching this knows anything more on this bus, please contact me. I would love to talk. Thank you.
And it was pretty exciting for little old me to have all this activity and attention for my small YouTube channel, which was growing pretty quickly at this point. And that's not all. That's just the beginning of many things that came along with this. Other YouTube channels had me on as their guest on their podcasts. Digital entertainment companies like Supercar Blondie and Cars Insider, they all reached out and did their own re-edits of the videos, which was really cool, which just spread the story farther. Speaking of going farther, all the way around the world, London journalists reached out to me and did an exclusive story. We had several over-the-phone interviews back and forth. I'll try to share some of that story as well. It's pretty amazing how far this spread. But by far, the best part is hearing back from all of you viewers. Not only was the story touching to me, but you've expressed to me in your comments, and there's thousands of them. I'm going to share those with you because I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want you to see for yourselves how great this was. So let's look at some of these comments.
All right, well, let's take a look at a few of these comments, guys. Now, there was thousands of them, so we're not going to read all of them, but I just want to thumb through and point out a few that were extra special and just kind of get you an idea of how many amazing comments were left and how many blessings came my way via this video. Starting here with Video Dude X says, "This has to be the best vehicle restoration I've ever watched. I thought, over 2 hours? I'll never watch this whole thing." I was captivated. So well done. What is it? Ernest Thomas 3965 says, "Excellent video. This should have been a mini documentary. I loved every minute of the videos. Thank you." Roller Dave M says, "Man, I wasn't really prepared to commit to a 2.5 hour video tonight, but I couldn't stop watching. I love the journey, both figuratively and literally. The little nuggets of history and the anticipation of the reunion at the end really have a way of investing the viewer. Yeah, I subbed, and I'll see what else you got." What a heartwarming story. Nice to see this piece of history brought back to life. Big surprise how good condition it was despite being parked for many, many years and almost completely overgrown. Thanks a lot. What a great feeling it must have been bringing back such a great memory to one special lady. I honestly have to say, it brought tears to my eyes. Thanks, Johnny409. Let's see, David says, "Hi, I'm 81 years old and rode one of these buses when I was in grade school. You could hear by the whine in the transmission. I lived in the hills of Pennsylvania. It was a great find for you, and I love how your family are willing to put in the hands on this project. Have a blessed time restoring it." And here, this one will translate to English. "Dear friend, I send you greetings from a distant Russia. I want to thank you for this wonderful and kind story. There are no words to express my gratitude to you for the emotions that you gave to all of us. God bless you and your family. I hug you tightly." Big 88 Country says, "Awesome job getting the old girl back on the road. I know it took over a year, but I also know it was well worth it, especially to Mary. I'm sure it brought back a lot of memories to her, riding the bus as a child with her daddy driving. You did a good thing, man. What a wonderful journey that old bus has had. Sitting overgrown in the bush as she was, to find someone like you to bring her home to the people for a special reunion." This old guy had a few tears at the end. Let's see, Norman says, "This is definitely one of the best restoration projects I've ever seen. The whole workup to it was interesting, but the reunion and story was very touching, and that by itself was worth my subscription. Great job, sir." Martin says, "Fantastic restore video. You and the people like you are a great inspiration to others who might go on and restore old abandoned motors. Keep up the good work and regards from Ireland." Thanks, Martin. Forever Free says, "This restoration video was incredibly awesome. What got me with all watery eyes was how the older lady said her dad used to drive the bus and how she reenacted the way she would ride right behind him. What an amazing vehicle. The drone shots and the editing with all the great music, it had me captivated. Never thought I would watch over 2-hour long video about an old bus being resurrected, but here I was and enjoyed the journey all the way through. Merry Christmas." Hey, thanks, Forever Free. See, what a story. I loved watching this baby leaving its grave by its own power. So cool, dude. Greetings from Brazil. This is a great compilation. So glad I found it in my recommendations. The bus turned out great, and it was good to see the people at the church really appreciate seeing it. Merry Christmas and all the best to New Year from some random dude halfway across the globe. Let's see, SoCal Jerry says, "Jason, I gotta tell you how hooked I was on your 2+ hour video story of the rescue of this old cool 48 Ford bus. What an amazing tale of dedication, skill, and patience. Looking forward to further adventures with the restoration of this amazing piece of history. Jerry." Thank you, Jerry. Good long video and beautiful end. Greetings from Germany. It says, "I am so glad I clicked this video. First time seeing the bus. Wish I'd found it sooner. Amazing job. And what a beautiful ending. I can't say enough about that. Huge respect for getting in contact with the church and driving it there for the reunion. Brings a tear to a fella. Congratulations from France, and may Jesus accompany you on the road." Let's see, Scott Jones says, "Dude, for real? I've watched or listened to thousands of YouTube videos over the years, and this video is by far the best. Your editing was spot on. No blah 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 or corny jokes, just straight to the point. The bus is so damn cool, man. I would love to have one. So blessed. Beautiful family and beautiful story. Thanks, your new subscriber." Thank you, Scott. And let's see, Precious Memory says, "From start to finish, an amazing adventure. I love the scripture message on the back door. I was born in 1948, but I think the old bus is in way better shape than me. You did a great job getting it roadworthy. I reckon that I have to wait until I cross over before the master mechanic gets me completely restored. Keep up the good work, my friend. Was a long and worth it video to watch. Better than many $30 million movies. I really hope you get to finish the bus completely and give it a new life and use it. Cheers from Argentina." Now, I mean, these just keep going on and on. Let's see. Bravo for your insight. Superb work. Greetings from France. Like I was saying, there's thousands of these. We're not going to be able to go through them all, but I just wanted to point out a few of these. See, like this one I have to translate to English. Bravo. The first time I watched a video for 2 hours and I did not really get bored of it. A very wonderful work. Greetings and respect and appreciation from North Africa. Oh, wow. Thank you. Alright guys, well, that's about all the comments I'm going to be able to read, but like I was saying, there's just thousands and they go on like this. Nothing but wonderful wishes. Look at them all. Alright, thanks for checking them out, guys.
Now, hearing back from all of you and those wonderful comments has left me with the greatest feeling of accomplishment, more than I would have ever guessed. I really appreciate it. I'm so thankful. You guys are wonderful. And I'm still getting comments. So please, once again, if you guys haven't watched the video, you gotta go watch the video. I'm telling you, you're not gonna be disappointed. But with all of that talk, we need to start getting down to business and start looking at some of the analytics. I need to start showing you some of the details behind the scene. You know, we're always kind of curious of what it takes to make a video go viral. Things that we already know are important are like subject matter and quality of video, title and thumbnail. Now that I've got a video that did over 1 million views, I can kind of show you the analytics, some of the details you might not normally get to see. And then, of course, don't forget, at the end of the video, we're still going to discuss how much ad revenue 1 million views will bring you. But let's dive into the analytics.
Alright, here we are in the YouTube studio, the creator side, and the analytics of this video. And as you can see at the time of this editing, we're at about 1.2 million views, which since this we've surpassed, which is pretty amazing. And so let's start with the views. How about taking a look at the views per hour? Now, starting with the night that the video was released, we got just over 1,000 views. And then for the next couple days was just a couple hundred views per night. And day 4 brought a few thousand views, but then day 5 things really started to change, with 14,000 views that night, and then another 12,000 the next night. And for the next week, it was getting about 10,000 views a night. Then on the 12th day, it jumped up 16,000 views. And as we approached Christmas, the views really took off, with December 23rd getting 30,000 views. And then Christmas Eve, we got 42,000 views. And again, on Christmas Day, another 42,000 views. Woo! Then day after day, we were getting about, 30 to 40,000 views a day for weeks. So amazing. And then on day 28, we hit 500,000 views. And of course, it just kept rising until day 163, we hit that 1 million views. Let's go! I was definitely celebrating that day. And of course, again, it just kept rising at that point, and still rising to this day. As a matter of fact, we're still getting close to 300 views every 48 hours. Well, we'll go ahead and keep scrolling down the screen here and show you some more of these analytics, like how many viewers were during my premiere and some peak retention times for viewers. Now, I'm no expert at these analytics, but I figured I'd go ahead and show them to you so you could pause to read if you want to analyze them more. But check out those impressions. 17.9 million impressions with a 3% impression click-through rate. Now, as we look at the traffic sources, you can see how it started with the browse feature pushing the video at first, but then the suggested videos took the lead. And then, well, after a while, the browse feature took back over the lead again. So you can kind of come down here and look and see where all the views came from across the whole platform. Starting with the browse and the suggested and all the way down the list. Well, let's go ahead and move over to the reach section, where they really have a lot of detailed graphs that really break this down for you. It really has all the information you could ever want. Even showing you some of the external sites like Google search and Facebook and all the others. Well, now let's move over to engagement. And you can see how many watch hours were created just by this video. Now moving down, you could see the audience retention, the end screen element click rate, and even anybody that's remixed any of the music from the video. And then moving over to the audience, you can see on the graph the returning viewers versus new viewers, which is pretty interesting. And of course, all the other audience details like the age and gender, which is pretty interesting. You know, most of my viewers are mostly older men, but those are the ones that seem to enjoy the classic car revivals. And also showing the top geographics where the video is played from, which is really interesting. So you could break it down here and see exactly where the views came from. You know, United States being the most, being over 500,000, and then the United Kingdom and Canada, and on down the list. And it's pretty amazing how far this video went. You know, I've said it a dozen times, worldwide, and I'm not kidding. I mean, take a look at this. Japan, France, Thailand, pretty amazing. I mean, some of these places I've never even heard, so really cool. I mean, it even goes to break it down to the views per city, which is pretty neat to go through here and see how many views in what city and which part of the world was watching the video. I mean, worldwide, baby. And well, of course, we've got to talk about the subscriber count. We got almost 10,000 new subscribers from this video alone. Thank you to all you new subscribers. And well, now for the most exciting part, the part you all been waiting for, and that's how much money 1 million views will bring you on YouTube. And there you go, over $10,000. Woo! Now, of course, this is just the ad revenue off this one video. But when you bring in 10,000 new subscribers, they're going to go back and watch other videos, which of course brought the revenue up even more across the board. And you can see here how they break it down. Now, I'm not super knowledgeable when it comes to some of this stuff, but you can see what the RPM rate is and the playback CPM. You can really dial in the analytics. Now, not only do you get the money from the ad revenue, but with 10,000 new subscribers, you get more members to your channel, and of course, people are buying some of your merch. And there's also the super chats during the live streams and the super thanks. So there's a bit more revenue being made than what I'm showing you here. And you can keep digging into the analytics deeper. Like here, you could even see what devices were being utilized to watch the video on. And of course, you can break down the ad revenue even more precisely, seeing exactly what ads the revenue is actually being generated from. I'm referring to like skippable ads or bumper ads or non-skippable ads, display ads. You can really see which ones are producing the revenue for you.
Well, there you go. Over $10,000 in ad revenue for 1 million views on YouTube. And I've yet to mention the sponsors. You know, before this, I was getting the basic entry-level sponsorship offers. But after you get a video to do 1 million views, the sponsorships definitely step up to the next level. Nothing too crazy, but I was getting some more paid sponsorships and ad reads. For example, Brunt Boots and Raycon earbuds, even Temu. So there's been a few paid sponsorships, which is all part of that increased income. Now, some history updates. A lot of you have asked about the story, how it became abandoned, who owned it before. A lot of questions that were unanswered in some of the videos. Now, I've recently learned more history on the bus, which I've been waiting to share with you guys. And I think I've got you up to date from, you know, the origin of the bus was a school bus in Portland, and then it became the church bus through the 60s and 70s. But recently I've met a previous owner. Errol is his name, I believe. I hope I got that right. But he had learned about this story in the video and watched it, and then reached out and contacted me and told me his story and sent me some photos that I'll put up here. Now, he said that he first discovered the bus in 1982 when it was for sale on the street corner in southeast Portland. And after talking with the pastor at the church more recently, that person that was selling the bus there in Portland in 1982 must have been one of the members of the church that was responsible for the vehicles, and that's about when the church sold their vehicles. So Errol bought that in 1982, and he said he loved the bus. He sent me some photos, like I was saying, which I'd like to point out. the bus, how much more complete it was in these photos. Still had the flashers and the original mirrors, and even has some hubcaps on the wheels. Really cool seeing these old photos. He told me after buying it in 82, he had it for, I don't know, 10 years or so, but he said he loved the bus. He had all kinds of plans for it. But he had some other vehicles and another bus as well, and at some point he had to move across the country, and fortunately he said he had to sell the bus. He didn't want to, but he sold it to Russell, which is the one that I purchased the bus from, and Russell's the one that actually parked it out there in the forest, and ultimately that's where it sat for almost 30 years. So it was really neat learning that portion of the history. And then of course I've mentioned before, but yeah, once Russell owned it, in the 90s, he'd parked it out here in the forest, and he'd come out here as a retreat to play music and drink beer. I guess he was a country western music artist and songwriter, and this was his little getaway out in the forest. And he told me that at some point, as he got older, he stopped coming out here as much, and the bus kind of fell in disrepair. And at some point, he did try to come out here with a mechanic and get the bus running, but unfortunately wasn't able to get it running. And, decade after decade, it sat out here until that's when I found the bus. And then we began that whole YouTube revival series. And well, the rest has been history. Well, now at this point, I wanted to reach out to you guys and ask you what you think we should do with the bus. What's the next plan for this bus? We've done that whole revival series. And then since then, I've been entering it in car shows and classic car cruises, which is a blast. And it gets so much attention. We also haunt it and decorate it for the Halloween trunk or treat events. But short of that, we don't do much with it. We'd originally planned on doing some kind of RV conversion, putting a bed and some storage in this thing and actually traveling around in it. But after driving it, we realized how cumbersome this thing is with the old 1957 Y block and the original suspension. This thing is not practical and is cumbersome to drive. So now taking it on long road trips doesn't seem as pleasant. I don't know, I'd really love to hear your feedback. All right, now last but not least, I want you to meet a good friend of mine, Evan Kumar. Now this young man has an amazing ability to remember numbers and dates. He could recall viewer counts and subscriber counts. He goes back and reminds me of things about my YouTube channel that I forget. He'll remind me of certain high points and certain dates that stand out, anniversaries of high points in my YouTube channel. So Evan's been the biggest supporter of my channel since the beginning, and I want you to take a couple moments and just watch this little video that he's made for me. Now please be kind, and if you feel like it, please go give him a subscribe. Thank you.
Hi guys, Evan Kumar here, and today I'm going to explain my entire history of Country Boy Gas Garage, so let's get to it. Now, I'm a huge fan of his channel. I remember in August 19, 2021, and it was at 7:20 p.m. that day. I was watching YouTube and I saw a recommended video, a bus wash video, and that's when I found Country Boy Gas Garage. When I first saw it, I was like, oh wow, I'm definitely subscribing. And so before I watched the wash video, I had to watch the very beginning. So Jason found the 1948 bus abandoned in the forest, and it was in rough shape, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it. It was full of rats inside. I was like, oh my god. And the inside was messy inside. It was full of rat poo and a lot of rats' nests in there too. And so I just watched all the videos of the bus and I got caught up to date. When he drove it out of the forest, I was like, whoa. And so he contacted the church that had that bus, and they were very excited about it. And so it had to do a lot of fixing on that bus. In 2022, January, the journey continues, but at the end of January, his channel got hijacked and it got terminated. And I was like, what? Oh no. I think he got hacked. I hope nothing bad happens. But when I woke up the next morning, I saw it was terminated. I was like depressed, crying, like. So a week after his termination, they still haven't recovered it, but I was just still hoping it'll come back well. And then after another week, I saw that his channel came back. I was like, oh, he's back! He's back! I was excited. I started watching videos non-stop because I missed it. I still get the experience from that day too. I don't want to think of that day. Like literally. I kept watching more restorations on it, and in April, put new wiring on the bus, and I saw the headlights on and backlights. I was like, whoa. And so, in June, he took it up to the church for a reunion. I was excited, and so I was really happy. The project was completed for watching that restoration. And also, coming in 2025, it will be 4 years of watching your video, Jason. That's crazy. Why does time go so fast? I wish I could just pause it, you know. So everyone, please subscribe to his channel. And I also have a channel too. It's Evan Kumo. Subscribe to my channel too.
All right, so that's it, guys. Now make sure you're subscribed to Country Boy Gas Garage and Evan Kumar. Now, thank you, everyone. Until next time, peace.